Good evening. I wanted to talk about a bunch of budget Walmart knives that I've been using lately. They are decent quality for what they are. The brand is Swisstech. Now, I've known of Swisstech for quite some time because I ended up with some of their little. They used to make these little, almost monolithic looking multi tools. They're useful, but they're a little heavy for what they are, and they were pretty limited on actual tools. What I've been able to procure from Walmart, we'll start with this one. This is the Garundet. Probably not going to pronounce that right, don't really care. This I consider more of a gentleman's folder. It has a very nice deep carry pocket clip. It has recessed screws, little red spacer, through construction, aluminum scales, carbon fiber inlay, flipper tab, liner lock, recessed for your thumb or finger to get a hold of the lock here on the side scale. It has the little Swisstech emblem on the hardware. This is a DLC coated AUS 8. The action on this is buttery smooth. It is just a pleasure to deploy. It really is. It's a little difficult on camera, but it just fires right out. It'll light switch or push button. It's a lightning fast little knife. It is fun to fidget with. I haven't used this a whole lot, being a kind of a gentleman's carry. I will find the time and the place. It is in rotation, but I'm really loving this for the amount of money I paid. It does appear that it has non-skeletonized steel liners inside of the aluminum, and the aluminum has almost a powder coat, is what it appears to be to me. Either that or it's just anodization over a bead blast. Centering is just about perfect. And I've really enjoyed fondling and playing with this little guy. This was the first Swisstech that I picked up. After that, I moved on to the Leicht, I believe. Probably mispronouncing that too. Now, this isn't in its factory configuration. I carried this for a long time after I got it, and I ended up stripping this coating off. My neighbors are home and the dog's losing her mind again. Snickerdoodle. Hey, come here. Come here. Come on. Come here. She said no, she's defending the castle. She ain't taking none of that. Shh, girly girl. Girly girl, come on. You want a treat? Come on. Oh, that'll get her over here. Hold on, I'll introduce you. Well, come here. Snickers. Do you want a treat? Okay. She's not going to do it. She's not falling for my tricks. Little goofball. So I started carrying this. I've been carrying it cross draw on my belt. And I realized that even though it came with a really nice edge, the coating that is on it is relatively thick, and it was causing a lot of drag. Regardless of material, it was dragging pretty hard. And so I went ahead and I stripped that coating, and then I brought the bevel back a little bit, polished the edge. The coating on this is very tough. It's very strong. It took me 2 days with a a high-grade stripping agent to get that coating off. I believe it is like an epoxy traction coating. It's very, very, very strong. Even after multiple coats and 2 days of alternating coats, it never bubbled off like a paint. I still had to use a tool or a scraper implement to get that finish off of there. Since it's in a D2 steel, I haven't attempted to patina it in any way. It'll naturally color over time. I find it kind of pointless to put a forced patina onto a D2. You can see it does have some coloration that's beginning to occur. It's seen quite a bit of use even after I've stripped that coating. Then I picked up the Haltbar. This knife intrigued me because it is a very traditional and neutral handle shape. It is pinned micarta scales, brass pins, brass lanyard loophole. It has an excellent grip on it. No matter which position you're in, the grip is exactly the same. It is completely neutral. And this is made out of a very thick 1/4-inch piece of VG10. I have a lot of experience with VG10 as a core material on some cold steels and originally Spydercos, Enduras, Delicas, my Centofonte 3 all came with a VG10. I have noted over the years that the edges on the VG10 can be a little brittle. But I wouldn't worry about durability with this because it is just incredibly thick. It is full tang construction. The only possible weak point would be if you sheared off these handle pins or it came loose from the handle pins. Only time will tell. The fit and finish is fairly decent. The metal is actually slightly proud of the scale. Just ever so slightly, and it doesn't bother me one little bit in hand. In fact, the naked eye, you really wouldn't even notice with the naked eye. There you can kind of see, but it's no big deal. I don't really care for the long section of jimping here. The jimping, it's okay. It's cut decently well, but then polished off. There's no 90-degree spine on this blade. But I do think using that jimping, you could probably get some material scraped or a fire steel to scratch if you're at the right angle. It took a lightning sharp lightsaber edge on a fixed angle system. The edge bevel was slightly off from the factory. The plunge grind is perfect. No problem with the plunge whatsoever. And your blade does come back very close to the handle, and they integrated a sharpening notch into it as well, which I really like. The blade shape is kind of Kephart reminiscent. It doesn't give you a center line through the handle to the tip, but it's not too far off. Because of the neutrality of the handle shape, the perfect round, almost ball bat feel of that handle, you could quite easily drill divot holes and things like that with this blade. I then picked up the Halten. And what intrigued me about this was the size. It's right in between the other two that I have for the fixed blade Swisstechs. It has a very nicely contoured G10 handle. It does have a light texture pattern to it. And being an AUS 8 with a DLC coating, I think it'll hold up for just basic utility tasks. They call this a caper, mini skinner, And it is kind of reminiscent of like a White River backpacker. You get about 2 3/4 inches of actual cutting edge. Did I say this was AUS 8? D2. D2. I forget now. If you go cutting edge to cutting edge, you get a little more cutting edge with the Halten. And they bring this choil way up forward. And it does make for a pretty comfortable grip. You also get that long line of jimping that runs along the back, just like the Haltbar. The cut on that, it's a very mild cut. It's really not doing you much good. Spine edges are beveled. The finger choil is beveled all the way around both sides. The protrusion right here, right below the plunge grind, is also completely beveled, and I mean beveled, not just rounded. I don't know if you can tell, but they have actually beveled that edge completely, giving it almost 3 flats. I also stuck this in a fixed angle, and it took an incredible edge. And I carried this for some time, and then I had to retire it from carry, and that's going to bring up an issue that I had with the sheaths on these two Swisstechs. This is the clip that came off of that Halten. I have since replaced that with a small cold steel C-clip. The reason being, in these holes are little steel inserts. And see if the camera will pick it up. They're threaded in the center to accept your screw. And then all around the edge, they are like a cog or a sprocket. They have a serration all the way around the edge, and then they are press fit into these holes. The inserts are in these, and they are in there, and you can barely tell that anything is in there until you see what that hole looks like when it pulls out. I was also scout carrying this, and this entire clip, luckily right as I was getting out of a vehicle, both cogs, because they are not epoxied in or anything like that, they are press fit, popped, pop, right out of this sheath, and this knife fell in between the door and the seat. So I immediately stopped carrying it. I wasn't just going to unscrew them and then put them into the other cogged inserts that are on the sheath, or sprocket type inserts, because the same thing's going to happen as this flexes and moves on your belt, especially when you're working cross draw. It's going to slowly work these little metal inserts out of that plastic. The retention on these sheaths is wonderful. Slight bit of rattle. No rattle at all in that one. But I no longer trust the built-in clip system with those press fit threaded sleeves that are in those plastic cavities. So I went with the small cold steel C-clips. And though they're not a perfect fit, I was able to make them work, and they carry in the position that I wanted to carry these two fixed blades without any issue. And as many people have complained about, the clip on these is pretty weak anyways. where with this you get the full C-clip wraparound. So once that's on your belt, it's not going anywhere. The sheath on the Haltbar is a thin leather, and it's a real leather, and they did put a welt all the way around. It is nylon stitched, brass riveted, but then they put this strange clip, little metal clip in a sleeve, and then made your top flap removable. And I guess that's okay. I'm not going to carry this on the belt. This sheath to me is much more of a pack carry option, glove box carry option. I just can't see this holding up over time. Even though this clip is fairly strong, I think it's going to start, it would begin to pull the nylon stitch off of this leather sleeve as it flexed. So I am not going to use that as a belt carry. But I do appreciate the top flap, as opposed to having something that is this thin of a material being nothing but a friction fit. So that was smart of them. And it does come with a little button cap if you want to remove this top flap. But I'll be leaving it just as is. I see no reason to remove this top flap. That was one of my favorite features of the old Buck 100 series, 119s, 103s, was that top flap sheath. It added just an extra level of protection from the elements and from the knife falling out of the sheath. Well, I hope I covered everything that I intended to, because I sure do get forgetful. As you guys have noticed, I came back after an 8-year hiatus. Divorce happened and I ended up in a rough spot for quite some time. Took a while to get back on my feet. Lost everything. Ended up homeless with $19 in the clothes on my back. So that was 7 years ago. But I'm back in the saddle again, and I'll keep shooting videos. Appreciate it. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.